These are two of the best all-round Windows laptops ever. The Asus ROG Zephyrus G16 and the Samsung Galaxy Book 6 Ultra. They both do almost everything right, but the Book 6 Ultra is quite a bit more expensive. So which one of these is the best all-round Windows laptop? Let's find out. And please like and subscribe if you like these type of videos. From the outside, these are two of the best built thin and light Windows laptops in the world. They both look quite sleek and professional, but obviously the Galaxy Book doesn't have a big LED strip at the back. They both have a fully aluminum body from top to bottom, so they feel incredibly sturdy. The Galaxy Book feels a bit more dense, but the Zephyrus has less keyboard flex. Both of these are very rigid though. The Zephyrus is a little heavier than the Galaxy Book, but it's not super noticeable and it's actually a little more balanced. And it's also slightly thicker, but then again, that does mean more space for cooling. And with the specifications that these guys have, they're gonna need that cooling. Because they both have a full-fat RTX 5070 GPU and a pretty beefy CPU. The Galaxy Book has a newer generation Intel chip though, so it'll be interesting to see how they compare. The 2026 G16 also has this newer chip, but it's still not out yet. A big difference between these two is the power that they give to that 5070. The Zephyrus has quite a higher TGP. But we'll have to see whether either one of these even reaches those wattages during actual use. A big advantage of the Zephyrus though is that it can be spec'd all the way up to an RTX 5090. Sure, a pretty wattage limited 5090, but that extra memory might be very handy for a lot of people. The 2026 G16 will have a lot higher wattages for all of these GPUs, but again, it's still not out yet. These two laptops have a very similar port selection, but the Zephyrus slightly wins here by having one extra USB-A port. And it also has a dedicated charging port, while the Galaxy Book exclusively charges through USB-C, which does take up an extra port. But the Galaxy Book has a way nicer charger to carry around, since all the weight is at the plug side and not somewhere in the middle. But that bigger brick on the G16 does give it more power, and that might impact performance a whole lot. And again, you can also charge the Zephyrus with a third-party USB-C charger, just at a lower wattage than the Galaxy Book. Now let's look at their keyboards. They both have quite a nice design of incorporating their speakers. Which one do you prefer the look of? They both have a keyboard backlight, but the Galaxy Book only has a white color, while the Zephyrus has a single zone RGB backlight. But here's how their keys compare. I massively prefer the Zephyrus here. The Galaxy Book has very similar keys to a MacBook. They're very shallow and lacking in key travel. Meanwhile, the Zephyrus is more thumpy and feels a lot more comfortable to use with a longer key travel. The Zephyrus also has these 4 macro keys at the top here, which are pretty handy. But it's the complete other way around when we look at their trackpads. First of all, they're both about the same size and absolutely massive. But a big difference here is their technology. The Zephyrus just has a regular diving board trackpad, while the Galaxy Book has haptic vibration. And the difference is night and day. While you can't use the top like 30% of a diving board trackpad, you can press equally on every part of a haptic one and get the same click every time. Moving up, we have their displays, and these two are both amazing, but they do trade blows. While OLED and AMOLED are technically different panel technologies, they're both simply gorgeous, and they both have beautiful, vibrant colors, infinite contrast, and like always, blacks are pitch black. The Zephyrus does have double the refresh rate though, and while most people might not see the difference, 240 Hz is quite a lot smoother than 120, especially for gaming. But the Galaxy Book has a massive advantage when it comes to brightness, as it can get almost double as bright even in non-HDR content. The 2026 G16 will have up to 1100 nits, but again, it's not out yet. The Galaxy Book also has a slightly higher resolution, but the difference really is minimal. Both of these have an excellent anti-reflective layer on their displays though. The Zephyrus is ever so slightly better here, but the difference is tiny. And these are easily the best coatings on any Windows laptop right now. However, the Galaxy Book also has a touchscreen, while the Zephyrus does not. But it also has these MacBook-ish rounded corners, which would be okay if they didn't actively block content in the corner of the screen. They both open up about as far, which is not all the way down unfortunately, and both of their hinges are very floppy. I think the Zephyrus is even looser than the Galaxy Book here, but they're both not great. But especially for a laptop that has a touchscreen, this doesn't seem ideal. You can open them up very easily with one hand though, so at least that's nice. Now when it comes to their speakers, usually Windows laptops don't sound that great. But the Zephyrus G16 broke that stereotype, and it has some of the best speakers out of any laptop. So can the Galaxy Book beat it? For the first time ever, these two are really close. They both sound amazing, but the Zephyrus has a larger soundstage, gets a lot louder, and has ever so slightly more bass. While the Galaxy Book sounds a bit more uniform and actually very similar to a MacBook. I think the Zephyrus still wins here by a bit, but either one of these is gonna be awesome for playing music at parties or for playing games. From what I can hear, both of their microphones sound great and very similar. Their webcams are also very close to each other, but the Galaxy Book is slightly softer, while the Zephyrus is slightly sharper with warmer colors. Which one do you prefer? Okay, let's finally look at their performance. The Galaxy Book has a newer Intel chip, but the Zephyrus has a higher wattage GPU. So which one is faster? Well, CPU-wise, the Zephyrus does actually beat the Galaxy Book in both single and multi-core performance. We are comparing an Ultra 9 to an Ultra 7 here, but this is the fastest CPU the Galaxy Book can have. But GPU-wise, yeah, the Galaxy Book is pretty heavily wattage limited. It performs more like an RTX 5060 than a 5070 compared to other laptops. So in most GPU-intensive applications, the Zephyrus is likely going to be a lot faster. But what about mixed CPU and GPU workloads? Because that's the real challenge for any laptop. Well, let's play some games and see how these two compare.
What did you do, man? No!
Alright, so it's pretty clear that the Zephyrus is quite a lot faster in gaming as well. These tests were slightly unfair to the Galaxy Book. I mean, it has a higher resolution, so it will run games slightly slower. And I would actually recommend playing games at a lower resolution anyways, since you can barely see the difference at 16 inches and you'll get a whole lot more FPS. But even if these two were the same resolution, the Zephyrus is always going to be considerably faster in both CPU and GPU intensive games. And that's simply because the Zephyrus has a lot more power to work with, and more power means more performance. When we look at the actual power usage of their GPUs, the RTX 5070 on the Zephyrus is using anywhere from 10 to 25 more watts maximum while playing games. And when we compare their CPUs, the Zephyrus also just has way more power available for its Ultra 9 than the Galaxy Book. Now, the Book 6 Ultra didn't run anything slow. It's still a very fast laptop and a pretty damn good gaming laptop too. But it's simply being limited by its power, and compared to the Zephyrus G16, it is the slower laptop. But how do their thermals play a role in this? The Zephyrus G16 might be faster, but does it also run hotter? Well, first off, the Galaxy Book 6 Ultra has a vapor chamber, while the 5070 version of the Zephyrus does not. But on higher spec G16s, it does have one, so those versions have quite a bit better cooling. So since the Galaxy Book has a CPU that uses less power with a vapor chamber, the Zephyrus' CPU simply runs hotter, by quite a bit. It's not dangerously hot, but it's still hotter. But their GPUs actually run at about the same temperatures, so pretty close to their thermal throttling point, but still perfectly fine. So the 5070 G16 does run a little hotter on the inside, but the Galaxy Book is a lot hotter on the outside. While playing games, it gets toasty around the WASD area and uncomfortably hot in the middle of the keyboard. The Zephyrus' cooling system actually pulls air through the keyboard, so it stays pretty nice and cool. So the Galaxy Book is definitely a little more uncomfortable while running heavy applications or while playing games. But what about their fan noise? The Galaxy Book stays a lot quieter during heavy use. You can manually set its fans to maximum for extra cooling, and on the G16 you can actually create a fully custom fan profile and tweak power limits. So both of these can be made either worse or better, but by default the Galaxy Book does run considerably quieter. Now when we get to battery life, it gets pretty interesting. This new generation of Intel chips is a whole lot more efficient. So how does it compare to last gen? Well, I tested their battery life in two different scenarios, under light use and during gaming. In the light use test, I played a YouTube video until both their batteries died, with their displays at 80% brightness, at 60 Hz, and with their keyboard backlight turned off. And the Galaxy Book lasted close to double as long as the Zephyrus G16, which is ridiculous. Even though the Zephyrus actually has a larger battery than the Galaxy Book, the sheer efficiency that these new chips have make that completely irrelevant. Now in the gaming test, I played Minecraft until their batteries died with the same settings as before. And here they both don't last super long, but the Zephyrus G16 does last a little longer. The Book 6 Ultra actually does not have a dedicated mux switch, so you can't manually turn off its GPU. The G16 can do this, but then again, these laptops aren't really made to play games on the go, so neither one of them lasted super long. Now, how about their upgradeability? These are both thin and light laptops, which means neither one of them should have any space left for modular components. But they do have some upgradeability. They both have two full-size M.2 SSD slots, so storage upgrades are pretty easy. But while the Galaxy Book has its Wi-Fi card soldered to the motherboard, the Zephyrus actually has a replaceable one. But neither one has any sodium slots. Their RAM is unfortunately fully soldered. But here's the biggest difference between these two, their pricing. The Zephyrus G16 with an RTX 5070 isn't ridiculously expensive. And for what it offers, it's actually priced quite well. But this 5070 Galaxy Book is almost double that price at $3,600. In the US, the Zephyrus is a whole lot cheaper, so the Galaxy Book is actually double its price, which doesn't make it much better. Now this isn't entirely fair since the Zephyrus G16 is almost a year old now and the Galaxy Book 6 Ultra only just released. But even though it should be getting a little bit cheaper, the Zephyrus G16 is likely still gonna be more affordable. I'll put Amazon links for all of these models in the description down below for if you're interested. Which brings us to the big question. Which one of these laptops should you get? The Zephyrus G16 or the Galaxy Book 6 Ultra? Well, in my opinion, the Zephyrus G16 gives you a lot more value for a whole lot less money. The Galaxy Book does have a brighter display, and that haptic trackpad is amazing. I mean, every laptop should have this. And it's also a little bit more portable. But the performance difference between these two is very noticeable. I mean, the Galaxy Book performs more like an RTX 5060 laptop. And for almost double the price of the Zephyrus G16, I see no scenario where that's worth it. Hell, at the price of the Galaxy Book, you can buy a Zephyrus G16 with an RTX 5080. And that thing is almost double as fast. The Galaxy Book 6 Ultra is absolutely a good machine. I mean, it does almost everything right. And if you can find it for a good price, or if you just don't care that much about money, it is still a great option. But even if you can find it at a lower price than the Zephyrus G16, I still don't think it's worth it, purely because of those wattage limitations. Look, forgetting all of that, if you're gonna buy any one of these laptops, you're not gonna be disappointed at all. Now let me give a huge shout out to my YouTube members. Soundwife, Thomas, Inky, Mr. Frosty Dude, Dropzone1, Martijn Snijkers, Flimsy, Aki, Mr. Nuke, Sebastian, Christian Sands, Real Elf, Eric the Rad, Wesley Rhodes, Ghost Data, Walter, Anu Gadar, Abdullah, Lewis, Ethan, and Vice. If you become a YouTube member, you get early access to content of mine, a shout out at the end of every video, and you'll also be supporting me as a creator to make these videos. And of course, you'll also be part of the Cool Guys Club, so you can use cool emojis like these in the comment section. So join the club if you're interested. And I will see you all in the next video. Bye bye.